Yep, I got a lot on my mind here. So, where do I start? I just got off a 50-plus minute conversation with one of my better friends. He is awesome. He also believes something different than me. As in, I'm a Christian and he chooses to believe in something else. It's interesting to note that there's a lot of discussion there if people are willing to open up and share some about what they believe. And I gotta put this down here. If they're willing to open up and share, you can have some good conversation. However, there's a lot that's personal and it's very hard. And there's a lot that just simply sets us aside because of what the world values versus what Christians value. I'm a little bit on the odd side there, which is, fine. It happens. And as I've said before, but I do not remember if I said on another video here, one of the main differences between me and other Christians are twofold. I do not believe that quote-unquote child of God is an identity. I believe it is a label, that it is not something that speaks out on who you are as an individual, but speaks out on collectively as Christians, that we're a part of a family, we're a part of something larger, which is why I believe it to be a label. And the second thing is, and I have to actually stop and think about this on how to present this, so I do so correctly. Many people want to say, look at God, look at the miracles that has happened, look at the blessings that have come true, look at our lives that have been changed for better. And I'm like, look at the criminal element. Look at all that's wrong, look at all that is here, and then look at what God does with it. Either he doesn't allow it to succeed, or he allows it to fall into a part of his plan in some way, shape, or form, and then he goes about his business. But the point is, he uses it. We all need, this ties in with the last video about the whole, we need good examples and bad examples alike. That is true. It's really hard to get to see the big picture if you're only seeing bits and pieces. And I suspect we will only ever see bits and pieces, never the whole thing. And that's hard, because many of us, we want to see the whole thing, all there, right here, right now. That can't happen. You can't have everything. There's other people say, you can't have your cake and eat it too. I think that applies to something else though, but whatever. You can't have everything that you want. You can't have everything that you are asking for. You can work towards a lot, you can get a lot, but you're not going to get everything. Plain and simple. All right, so I added sugar and I added creamer. Excellent. I find that I need coffee now and then. And I appreciate having coffee here at work. Here where I work at currently. Good stuff. Oh, they're out of hot chocolate though. So that does kind of suck. But yeah. Back to the conversation that I had with my friend of mine. Oh. We talked about a lot. We talked about pro-life, pro-choice. We've talked about abortion. We've talked about politics. And this stuff matters. Don't get me wrong. All of it matters. And I am starting to understand a little bit more, surprisingly. And the fact is, I think there's a large part of this that has been dragged from being what's right and what's wrong to being something political, like a tool that is used to push either agendas or to push a party forward in one direction or another, which would explain a lot as far as why there's issues and problems there. Still too hot. Ugh. Oh, man. The pro-life, pro-choice argument is tricky, just because of all that is attached to it. It's not just completely about politics. It's not completely about what's right or wrong. You know, like, here's the thing. You can do whatever you want. Here in America, freedom of choice is something that is tied very closely through and by the Constitution. And if we don't like the government, we can overthrow it. Like, there's a lot there. But the points that seem to be ignored are like consequences, repercussions, and responsibilities. Because here's the thing. Where does one part end and the other part begin? Abortion itself helps define that. And you take a look at a couple different factors, including just how many babies that have been aborted. You take a look at the availability of the abortion centers, and there's quite a few. I think in other countries shutting them down, even that is an example of, well, yes, they are definitely examples, but there's also statistics and information overseas that can also be very helpful. But as a whole, and one of the points that I'm trying to get at here is that money is a factor in all this. Like, money seems to be a large part of why things happen the way they do, why some things are pushed forward and such. Why some things are ignored and other things are pushed forward. It's annoying. Plain and simple, it's annoying. Because it goes from being what's right or what's wrong to something else completely. Even if the angle is still personal, the whole right and wrong part gets shifted entirely or just taken out of the picture. And when I say right or wrong, this isn't just simply about Christianity or even the Bible. Scripture. Yes, I use those as the main foundation, and I go off when I talk about them. Because you know what? The Bible defines what is right and wrong clearly. And I'm sure other people can define that somewhat else. Like the Muslims and the Mormons, they could probably define what's right and wrong somewhat accurately. As well as the Jewish as well. The Jewish and their Torah. Anyway, that's getting off track. Right and wrong. We all have that compass built inside of us too. Unless that compass gets damaged and destroyed. Then you need serious help in restoring that. Before I get off track too much here and my mind is rattling about, how do I say this? I believe responsibility starts when another life pops into the picture. Like, for the women who are, whatever happens, why they choose to do what they're doing up until the point that they get pregnant, a lot of things change because responsibility pops into the picture because of that other life. Even if what they do is just simply have the baby and then drop it off somewhere, if that's the bare minimum, that still is better than going through with abortion. Because I believe every being is a representation of God, an image bearer, so to speak. That is something that's been passed down to me that I hold true to. I believe it is very accurate that humans are image bearers of their creator. It's hard talking about this stuff just because everyone's going to take this differently. Everyone's going to have a different stance on this. That's fine. But where other lives are concerned is where responsibility is at. And responsibility is one of the defining factors between pro-life and pro-choice. Do you want to be responsible for someone else or something else? Like the whole your body, your choice. where exactly does that end? Like, you start looking at some of the stuff, and there's questions that are going to pop up for sure. Plain and simple. So, I support women with their choices up until another life gets brought into the picture. And then the game changes. The responsibility drops. It hits. They have to do something. And anyone who's gone to these abortion clinics to treat abortion as if it were some sort of birth control is abhorrent. Because you should prevent a child from being born, not remove it after it's being born. As if it's garbage, as if it's shit stuck in your bottom that needs to be removed. I don't even know where the womb's at in the human body, so I can't even speculate on that. I don't know anything about that. All I just know is that the inside of the womb does need to be scraped, and all of the bits and parts of the baby need to be pulled out. Like, murder is being committed because the heartbeat has already started. Like, what defines life is being extinguished within inside the human body, inside the womb specifically. It's a hard topic. I feel like I'm being a dead horse by saying that now. Anyway, there was other parts too that we talked about too. Faith and belief matter. And some people are like, yeah, screw that, who cares? And I'm just like, okay, so you don't want to you believe in what is spiritual, you don't want to believe in faith, religion, you're just going to consider it to be a crutch, something weak. Well, have you ever made a mistake? Have you ever committed a crime? Like, you ever fucked up at all? Yeah, it kind of proves a couple of things. One of them being that you yourself will need a quote-unquote savior. You're going to need someone or something to redeem you. There is evilness in the world that most everyone can agree upon. Not everyone is going to not everyone is going to define sin or even connect sin with what is evil. That, I think, is not just simply a mistake, but it's also a personal choice to remove the two together. You know, keep them apart and ignore one or ignore both. And let's be honest, sometimes it's good, feels good to do what you want to do and not have to worry about anything else. You know, you don't want to stress over what may or may not be true or may be a lie. Christianity is one of the few that's just simply, it has the historical component that is backed up by more than just simply words. Eyewitness accounts as well as historical documents in places that are actually found. Like, some of the mountains that are talked about in the Bible they're still labeled as the same mountains in today's world. Some of the same places have the same names. Like, some of the stuff lines up perfectly. It's more of a side thought, really. The entire point, though, is there is a lot that goes behind it. You start taking into account some of what you believe in, some of what you are basing your beliefs on. You're going to know where you stand at. Oh, I love this hazelnut coffee. I will be trying to upload. This is going off to the future with some of the other uploads and all that. I still have to do the conversation about my friend who passed away. The whole thing with biblical slavery, that is mostly done. I will be uploading that shortly as well. There's been a lot that just simply feels like it's the wrong time, which is why I just never put it up there. The end of the year just didn't something didn't click, and I wanted to wait upon it. There's a couple other conversations too that are taking some time to do. One of these conversations, I'll go in briefly here. It's the fact that I have been a long time fan of Unreal Tournament 2004. The whole series, not just 2004. And something popped up on the scope that I wanted to talk about that really hit me hard. And it's basically, it goes into some of the history, but the whole series the series as a whole has been dropped off by Epic Games. And I'm having trouble putting my finger on what exactly I want to talk about, but it's more of that personal thing that's kind of cool, and it's interesting, and it hits you from a different point that will make you think a little bit differently about gaming as a whole. And yeah, like, it's relevant. Maybe not to your life personally, but it is relevant. Lastly, there was one other point too. I just had it. Give me a second. What was that topic? What was that conversation? Oh, yeah. Warframe. I'm going to recover something to a much greater depth because there is a story, or rather a part of the main story and plot developed further into something very interesting. The man in the wall, aka Wally, as some people call him, that ties in with the void. It ties in with the hole inside of us that many Christians talk about, and it's very interesting that I will be going into more in depth. As a whole, having a huge giant gaping hole inside of each and every one of us that cannot be filled by quote unquote anyone except for God and Jesus, it's interesting to note, just because how much is relatable to it, how much is relevant to our lives as far as us trying to be content, to be happy, and to pursue meaning or, fun. What's fun in our lives. This stuff matters because if you don't know where you stand, you're going to be lost. You're going to be drifting. You're not going to be enjoying your life. Or worse, you're going to be stuck. You may very well be stuck for years. So, a different point of view and not getting stuck. Two very important reasons to listen to me. All right, until next time.